So on that note, let me ask you this question. So one of the epiphany that I have during our meditation retreat is this: we have effectively the ego, and then we have the higher self. In my mind, this is my mental model, and it's easy to follow the animalistic desire to be selfish, to care about the self, to worry about survival, to have anxiousness, or to follow anger, all these other things, right? It takes no effort, right, to do that. It takes, to me, effort to choose to be compassionate, to choose to be forgiving, to choose to be generous, to choose to be loving, all these other things. So the journey of going from fear to love, this is my personal journey. I feel like having these realizations, epiphany, and awareness allow me to see, to broaden that space between stimulus and response, and then have options to pick. I don't have to default to this reaction, default to this animalistic instinct to be selfish, to do all these things. But nonetheless, it's still difficult. Even though I see the options, I don't always choose the higher path. But it seems to me, based on the way you speak, is effortless. So, can you say a little bit more about that? Is it as simple as make it seem? Because you have that space, you are now aware of the options that you have.
Yeah.
And is it as easy, as effortless as I perceive from the outsider's point of view to pick the higher path? Or is it actually a conscious, effortful choice?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. And it is as easy or as hard as it is to go to the gym and train your muscles. Meaning, at first, it's dreadful. And it feels like a lot of effort and a lot of conscious thought and a lot of this, but you start to feel so good from going to the gym that after a while, or training or yoga or martial arts or whatever, at first, learning to be really conscious with your kid and raise them in a way that is from love and not fear, and is a challenge, but it's harder for me to be angry, fearful, and the animal, that other side that you're talking about, because the payoff of that is violent, and it's the feeling from being angry or frustrated or impatient or judgmental. I don't think that's easy at all. That might be a little bit more, like you said, instinctual in some way, but easy is like where life works. Like, my first thought was the gym. Once you start going to the gym, it becomes enjoyable, and then you're like, how did I ever not do this? And it's a pretty, once you see the results from parenting or from the gym, the momentum starts to make it feel a little bit more effortless than effort. It's not a constant effort, it's a constant awareness. And when a trigger comes up where I'm triggered, it's just about learning what as an access to what's triggering me and why it's triggering me. But I don't feel it's hard. But it's like you watch somebody with martial arts who's been training for 10 years, they make it look really effortless.
That's right.
Or somebody who can play guitar for just with flow, you're like, oh, that's so easy. But no, they've put in the work, and now it's effortless. So I think the same goes for any habit that you're trying to transform, or any practice. It takes work, but it's worth it, man. Like, it is worth it, especially when your measure or your barometer is having an enjoyable, fun life that works. Like, it's harder for me to have a life that has chaos and anger and unforgiveness or resent. All of that feels to me way harder than the effort it takes to cultivate love and opening my heart when my heart feels like closing. Like, that is hard work, right? Like, the tendency when you're hurt or somebody does you wrong is to tighten your chest and close, right? Defend. Right. It's the hardest thing to do is to open when you feel like closing. But it doesn't take too long before the payoff for opening your heart is right there, and the reward is right there. You feel good pretty quick. Closing your heart and protecting and shutting down feels awful. It's just, I guess it just depends on the angle that you're looking at it from, of whether it's hard or it's easy. Compared to what? It's hard a little bit, but it's a lot harder to be in pain.
So what I hear is this like short-term payoff.
There it is.
Right, to follow that animalistic instinct. Short-term payoff is fast, like you don't need to feel the pain or whatever, but long-term you pay. Long-term resentment, anger, whatever it may be. And then the other way around, short-term, open your heart, takes a little bit more effort to be forgiving.
Yeah.
But long-term payoff, you get that peace of mind, you have that inner peace, stillness. Right,
and the lie is that life should be easy. Life isn't meant to be easy. Like life, you don't build muscle by not like tearing apart the muscle. Like you don't, like the people feel, we all, including myself, forget that easy is not the goal.
So what is the goal?
I think the goal is joy and enjoyment and fun. Like I think the goal is to enjoy even no matter what your circumstances are, whether they're favorable or unfavorable, you find a way to allow it. I think the goal is allowing. Allowing, if my son comes in a bad mood, if I can find a way to allow his bad mood, it takes away that resistance. So we're covering a lot of topics, but for me, I find that especially in parenting, there's so much pleasure that I've found in parenting that it's worth the short-term, quote-unquote, hard work of not doing just what comes easy, like, yeah.
Beautiful.